Welcome to episode 6 of the PISCOPOD. I'm your host. My name is Sasha. Thanks for tuning in on this July what are we today? The 13th, I believe it is. July the 13th. Hope your weekend is going well. Beautiful weather where I am. It's been hotter than Satan's sauna out here. So I'm in flip-flops and shorts in the studio. It's a little cool. I got the AC on full tilt. But yeah, it's what a week. Where do we begin this week? Congrats to all my Calgary friends and family and fans. We made it through another year of the Calgary Stampede, the greatest outdoor show on earth. Record-setting for this year, which is promising, surprising, but promising nonetheless, I guess. It's good for my city. I think we've had about 1.3 million people through the gates in the past 10 days. Record for the Stampede Parade. I think I reported on that earlier in one of the other episodes. I think there was 335,000 people lining the streets without incident. Unfortunately, Stampede this year for Calgary has not been without incident, which is sad. I mean, I remember you could send the kids there. Me as a kid, I went there by myself, with a couple of friends or whatever, riding the LRT home at midnight and stuff after the fireworks. And there was never an issue. Nobody ever feared for their safety. Or at least we were too dumb to fear for our safety, maybe. I don't know. Has the world always been as crazy as it is of late? So there was a stabbing right in the crowd during the Stampede festivities, I guess on the fairway. For my American friends, Calgary Stampede is like a giant Texas State Fair, if you will. Lots of things going on for 10 days. Today's the last day. Big fireworks show. It's cooling down a bit outside, so that's nice because, wow, it has been hot. Hot. But wow, what a week for news. Epstein list. Poof. Away it goes. I mean, are we living in the fucking Twilight Zone? For real? For years, Pam Bondi, Donald Trump, the Democratic Party, you name it. Everyone was telling us all about this list, about flight logs and a list that would shock everyone, once it gets released. And then from one day to the next, no, there was no list. There wasn't even any suspicion of blackmail or any sort of nefarious activity. Now, are we as a society, and I'm not just talking about Americans in general, I'm talking about the world, because this shit isn't isolated to the United States of America. The focus is on the United States of America, but I mean, look around. Where I live, Canada, once thought it was a free country, and it is, it's turning into something that I don't recognize anymore, and it's getting worse and worse. But back to the whole Epstein thing. So this guy with no college degree all of a sudden becomes a math professor at this Dalton School of Finance or something like that or something. Anyway, no college degree, just out of nowhere, becomes a professor. Leaves the professorship under, let's just say, questionable circumstances, given what we know now of his panache for young girls. So he becomes a professor, leaves that job. Remember now, we're still talking about no college degree of any sort. Goes into the finance sector, company called Bear Stearns, and is a trader, financial advisor. No college degree. Gets into trouble there. They have to more or less fire him for questionable business practices. That's something that you can look up. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. I kind of want to gloss over so that we're all on the same page of what we're talking about here. So, leaves Bears and Stearns under questionable circumstances, decides to branch out on his own. Starts up his own company for, financial advice and managing portfolios. Now, you would think that someone that's been getting into trouble with the SEC and the like would probably be persona non grata as far as where you would want to invest your money, right? I mean, that seems like a no-brainer. But no, that's not what happened in this scenario at all. So this guy with no college degree starts out on his own and has mega wealthy people just start funneling cash his way. Invest this, invest that. Look after this portfolio. One of the media magnates in the United States of America, Les Wexner, I believe is his name, just one day signed over power of attorney to his entire fortune to this guy with no college degree. His girlfriend is Ghislaine Maxwell, whose father, Robert Maxwell, was a known Mossad agent, meaning, working clandestine operations, a decorated one at that. Decorated military, but a known member of the Mossad, the Israeli intelligence agency, which is what Jeffrey Epstein, by all accounts, was linked to. So all these things are connecting left, right, and center, and then from one day to the next, there was no list. And he committed suicide. Even though one of America's most prominent forensic pathologists, Dr. Michael Baden, when he did an independent autopsy, it had the hallmarks of not self-inflicted, let's just say. But they just discount that as well, right? I mean, this guy, this Dr. Baden, he has exonerated and or convicted, I would imagine, hundreds and hundreds of high-profile cases. He's the United States of America's most prominent, well-renowned forensic pathologists. And his findings were, that dude didn't fucking hang himself. And remember when he first did? There was all that hoopla about there was no camera footage. The cameras were broken. The guards were asleep. They got, they got reprimanded because they didn't check every hour like they were supposed to. Like, just a giant clusterfuck in one of the most secure places in New York City, or the country for that matter, right? Maximum security, right? Oh, sorry, the cameras were down. I've had my fucking Ring doorbell installed, I think, 6 years ago. That thing pings every time a ground squirrel runs by. But we are to believe that the most sophisticated juggernaut of law on the planet, the state of New York, just, whoops, sorry, our cameras were down that day. And the guards, they were completely not doing their job, actually going against protocols and stuff. There was no footage to be had. That's what the story was early on, but nope. Apparently there is footage, which Pam Bondi happily let loose so that everybody could see it. Everybody noticed right away that there's a minute missing. But that was explained away with, that happens on every one of the tapes. They have to reset something or recalibrate something, and every night within that tape, within that recording, there's going to be a minute or two that's clipped out and missing. Again, I go back to my Ring doorbell camera. Hasn't missed a thing in years. I've never had to reset it. I think one time I had to, because I'm through a security company, actually. It's not Ring. I don't want to, infringe on a trademark here. But the security system has never let me down. I've had to get a new hard drive one time a couple of years ago. But other than that camera, all the cameras around the studio and in my home are bang on. I get notified all the time, sometimes 90 times a day with my front door camera and stuff like that. But yeah, no, we're supposed to believe that at first there was no tape and now there is tape, and at first there was a list and now there's no list, and there's absolutely no indication of any blackmail stuff going on. Yeah, nothing to see here, folks. Nothing to see here. Let me ask you guys, and send me comments. What do you guys think? Do you guys believe it? Come on. Nobody believes this. And the funny thing is, it's on both aisles. People are saying, oh, Trump's probably on that list. He probably is. I don't want to lump everybody that's ever hung out, right? Like that guy was the guy to be seen with back in the day that he was doing stuff, right? Like he was throwing like banging parties and stuff like that. And, and that's how the people that run in these circles, right? They want to be seen at the best parties and seen at the nicest restaurants and all that other shit, right? So, of course, they're going to, hey, let's attend Jeffrey Epstein's fucking whatever, New Year's Eve party or whatever. So that doesn't mean that all the people that were ever pictured with him are necessarily involved in that aspect of what we know about him now, right? It's questionable, but it doesn't necessarily make it so. So I want to say that, right? But still, if you've been hanging around with the guy so many times, I mean, you got to see things, no? I've been to a lot of house parties in my time roaming this earth. And, just watching people, you can see things happen. Same with the Diddy party. Like, what? Nobody ever saw anything? Come on. Everybody's seen something. Now, whether you acknowledge what you've seen is another thing, but everybody's seen something. Same with this thing. Same with this Epstein. Now, is Trump on the list? Maybe. But this goes way above Trump, which is the frightening thing. Because it's making the average Joes now realize that it doesn't really matter which side you're voting for. They are corrupt to the core. To the core. Nobody can convince me of if Trump was on that list and the Biden Democrats were privy to that information, right? The same people that Russiagate and the laptop bullshit, they would have released that. They would have released that info. No doubt in my mind, that would have already been one of the first things to be leaked. So, is he on that list? Sure. I'm sure he's partied with him a bunch of times. Was he into the freaky underage stuff? I don't know. That's a stretch for me. But that's what I'm saying. It goes way above him. And this, oopsie, the list disappeared. This was not for the benefit of you and I watching. This was a signal to the people that are on that list and guilty. It was a signal to them as to how far that the government will go to protect their ass. There's no other way. There's no other way to slice that ham. That's the only thing that it indicates, because I mean, when I heard the press conference when they were announcing it, and then that Dan Bongino and that Kash Patel, and yeah, he committed suicide. There's nothing to see. Believe me, if I knew that there was something, you don't think I'd say anything? No, actually, I don't. I don't think that that's what you'd do at all. And it's scary. It's scary that this stuff is going on. This Epstein, he was convicted of child trafficking, and he gets this sweetheart deal. 13 months behind bars, and by behind bars means that he's in his own wing of this Palm Beach incarceration center, jail, county jail, if you will. And he has his own wing. He has a big screen TV installed in the lawyer room so that he can watch TV. He basically has run of the wing, so he's not like caged in like you would think that a criminal child sex trafficker would, be forced to endure. No, he just walks around. He's allowed out 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. He's allowed to travel anywhere in the world as long as he's back within 24 hours. Yes, folks, this is a convicted, this is a convicted predator, child predator. Who's the lawyer? Good old Alan Dershowitz, comes slithering out of his hole as usual. He got one murderer off, OJ. Still looking for the real killer. So, he rears his ugly head. The people that have been speaking out about this, they mysteriously commit suicide. And they're doing this right in front of our faces, folks. They are laughing. They're laughing at us. They're laughing at us. They're like, they're giving us the big fuck you. we run the show, and we don't even care that you know about it anymore, man. We don't care. How else does anyone wrap their head around and explain away what we just witnessed in the past week with this Epstein list and what they're trying to make us believe? They're literally trying to make us believe it's like the Men in Black with the flash thing, right? Like, boo! And now you forget everything. I was going through my timeline and some of the YouTube videos, like dating back, and there's literally hundreds of examples of Pam Bondi and the like, both sides of the aisle, talking about how depraved and how crazy this whole operation that Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein had going. They've said it hundreds of times. You can look it up on YouTube yourself. You don't have to believe me. Said it hundreds of times. And in one day, it was like, no, I misspoke. You guys misunderstood me. I never said that I had the list on my desk and I was going through it. I meant that I had the entire file on the desk and I was going to go through it. So I didn't say that. I didn't intentionally mean to make it sound the way that exactly like it sounded and the way that anybody with a half a brain would have interpreted what she said. None of that happened, folks. Just there's nothing to see here, and move along. Move along. Ironically, it's good old Benjamin Netanyahu. I think this happened the day before his visit. Weird. That guy just, the state of Israel and the Mossad, they just keep rearing their ugly head in all sorts of things. JFK files coming out. Who was there? Well, that's weird. The state of Israel. But no, it's Harvey. It's Lee Harvey Oswald that did this. It wasn't the CIA in conjunction with other intelligence agencies that decided to off John F. Kennedy because of his radical intentions of dismantling the CIA and calling it out for what it was, just like a lawless arm of American politics that operate by their own rules and do what they want throughout the world, facilitate regime change. You know how it is. I mean, we're living through it every single day. So all this is happening, but we're to believe that it all disappeared in the blink of an eye. And I'm flabbergasted. I really am. I am just blown away that I'm not blown away. It's to be expected. I find myself feeling helpless because it's like it's so obvious, and there's nothing that anyone can do. Nothing that anyone can do about it. So that's what's going on. Still sending out positive juju to all my friends and the fine folks down in Texas that are not only recovering from the flood, but there's reports now that they're back into flood warnings because it's going to rain again. So, we're thinking of you, and I know that they have lots of help down there, and they've made some great headway, but they're still looking for people. 129 dead so far. Just awful. Just awful. And like I said, under flood warning again. So, all over the world, we're going crazy. My hometown, Canada. My home country, Canada. Carney. Carnage Carney. Montgomery Burns Carney. The guy is not winning hearts. What can I say? After lamenting about his blind trust that he had going on and that there's no conflict of interest, some rabid independent people have been looking into it and found it to be full of shit. As to be expected, he has 103 and counting bona fide conflicts of interest in his investment portfolio that he promised didn't exist. And now that he's elected, did I say that it didn't exist? We keep mishearing things, apparently. I should go see my ear doctor and have my hearing checked out, because apparently I just keep mishearing things. His stock portfolio has 538 assets that would be flagged for posing possible conflicts of interest. 538. Not just one or two. That's how diversified his portfolio is. So, when some independents went through that portfolio to see exactly what some of his investments were, turns out that our Canadian Prime Minister really only has 3 investments within Canada. Waste Connect, Canada Waste Management. So that could possibly be a conflict of interest. Canadian Pacific Railway is another one of his investments. And Canadian Natural Resources. But when you look in what he has invested down in the United States, it's hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of companies that all would be red flagged for, at the very least, further investigation in order to determine that that's okay. So clearly lying. Everything out of his mouth is lying, which makes you understand what's going on with the tariffs here in Canada and how he secretly had every intention of repealing them. He just didn't want to do it before he got elected. That's what has been shown. There's 16 pages of information that have been released in regards to this portfolio. That 16 pages, folks. 16 pages that say, yeah, this is shady. Yeah, this is shady. This one too. I don't know about this one. They're laughing at us, people. I don't know. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of being played. I'm tired of these people with their hands in my pockets, pulling money out wherever they can, making me think that I'm bad because I like to go on vacation and take an RV, whatever, right? That's bad because it's bad for the planet. But when they take 95 private jets to Jeff Bezos' wedding to his leathery, pulled back crocodile face wife of his, that's okay. Nothing to see here, folks. You peasants just, work on saving up for the electric cars that we want you to have. Coincidentally, another one of Carney's red flagged things. He's heavily steeped into the EV market with his investments, and he's also heavily steeped into the procurement of the resources for said electric vehicles and such. So nothing going on, folks. A guy that's never held public office in Canada just gets foisted upon the Canadian people as the Prime Minister for the next 4 years, clearly has done nothing but lie through his fucking teeth in order to get elected. And there's nothing there's nothing that can be done about it. They're immune. They're immune. Speaking of immunity, P. Diddy. Here's another thing, flipping back down to the good old US of A. Also in New York, if I'm not mistaken. Weird how all these pedophiles and rapists and stuff like that seem to get a free walk in the great state of New York. Nothing even worth questioning there, I guess, folks. That's what they'd like you to believe, right? So Diddy gets all but acquitted. Video footage of him in the elevator bay of his local hotel, shit-kicking his girlfriend, booting her, dragging her by the hair back to the hotel for what was allegedly a freak-off. They paraded witnesses up and down and sideways in his trial, and they dumped all the important charges, and they left him with something that's, right, his money will buy. And again, do I fault Diddy? I mean, I do, because he's a reprehensible douchebag, but it goes way above. Diddy is the eye candy that they're giving us, so we're distracted from whatever else is fucking going on behind the scenes, man. Because, again, if that was you or I that got accused of that, we'd be in jail for the rest of our lives, and rightfully so. Rightfully so. But this guy, witness after witness after witness, people that have testified that it was Diddy that shot me in the face, paid some other schlep to do time for him. This guy has come out and said, yeah, it was Diddy that did it, but I took the heat because he paid me whatever it was, like 50 grand, or I don't even know what it was. It's just pathetic. These people with their fat wallets, they walk, they do whatever the fuck they want, and they walk in all instances. If Epstein didn't have a client list, and if he was not a child trafficker, why is Ghislaine Maxwell? Why is Ghislaine Maxwell in prison? For what did she do? She trafficked and Jeffrey didn't? Or she didn't traffic because Jeffrey didn't traffic? There was no trafficking going on? Like, come on, people. Are we going to stand for this shit? Frightening. Anyway, so what else can I tell you? Jojo Siwa. She apparently likes male appendages again. Was all over the news numerous times because she was a devout LGBTQ++. Went on numerous screen shits and rants to divulge her devotion to swinging the bat for the other side, if you will. But now she said, nah, she was forced into that by her handlers. They thought it would be more edgy if I came out as a lesbian, but I like guys. I don't know about you folks, but it feels like I'm getting bombarded by shit every day, man. Shit every day. Even in my hometown here. We got, well, I'll save that for another show because I want to do a deeper dive into it because it's funny. It's funny in itself. But I will give you a hint. It revolves around our beloved Albertan Jan Arden. And I was watching a podcast she was doing where she was interviewing Rosie O'Donnell. So do the math. You can kind of figure out where I'm going to be going with this. But I'm going to do that for another show. Folks, happy Sunday. Keep your eyeballs open. we need to start questioning things and we need to start demanding answers. And I'm not talking about just in the United States. That's a shit show. I'm talking about everywhere, folks. Everywhere. Canada's a shit show. What about that tranny in France and Macron? There's another story for another show. He's embroiled in something pretty shady with the sale of a French power conglomerate or whatever. These people are in our faces, doing whatever the fuck they want, laughing at us. And I think they're under the delusion that we're just going to let this shit slide. We're just going to, that's just the way things are now. I don't think so. I think the tide is turning. The tide is turning on many fronts. We're seeing record sponsorship for LGBTQ pride events fizzling away. Sales numbers for the uber woke companies are reflected in a downward trend. We're fighting the fight, people. We're swinging back this pendulum back to some form of reality. So I was thinking, and then the Epstein shit lands in my lap. And now I'm completely confused again. Anyway, folks, thank you for tuning in. Hit me up, man, in the comments. Let me know your thoughts. What do you think is going on? Subscribe. Hit the subscribe button below. And yeah, send me some email, man. Send me some comments. What do you think is going on? Do you believe what's going on? Are you suspicious of what's going on? Let me know, man. I'm interested. I'm just a guy trying to communicate with people. And the shit that I'm seeing is bizarre. Anyway, I appreciate your patronage. Thanks for tuning in. We will talk to you next week. I'm sure that we'll have another treasure trove of stuff to cover. But we'll see you next Sunday. See ya!